Welcome to the Let's Talk Politics Alabama podcast with your host, Daniel Stover and Russ Sanders, where we take a look at Alabama politics like a drive down I-65 from North Alabama to the state capital in Montgomery and all the way to the Sugar Sand Coast.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
We choose truth over facts.
I don't want to speak negatively. I said, though, that if I lose this election, maybe I'll end up moving to Alabama.
Someone has once said that actually, as long as there are final exams, there will be prayer in schools.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for taking a chance and listening to our new podcast here on YouTube. I'm Daniel Stover, and this is my co-host, Russ Sanders. This is our first episode. We're going to try to just fill things out and get our feet wet here. So we're going to go through and tell y'all a little bit about ourselves and how we got involved in local politics. So first, I'll start off. Like I said, my name's Daniel Stover. I work in the petroleum engineering industry as a mechanical designer. I'm a beekeeper, farmsteader. I do media production on the side for local candidates here in North Alabama. One thing that kind of helps qualify Russ and I as to do this podcast is I'm the Lawrence County chairman for the Republican Party here, and Russ is our treasurer. We both live literally a mile or two apart. But with those positions in our county party, we are also on the Alabama Republican Executive Committee. So just give you a little background on how I got involved in politics. Actually, I really wasn't that big into politics up until 9/11. I was sitting at my desk when the first plane hit the towers. I remember listening to Rick and Bubba that day. They were on all day. The next day, when they went off, I started looking for a place to, get more coverage of that. And I remember hearing time and time again about WVNN and it being talk radio. So I ended up tuning over there, and at that point it was 770 AM. I don't know as if they had actually went to the FM side yet, but I started listening to their coverage and listened to Rush Limbaugh. The first time I'd actually heard him, and as the days went on, I stuck around and kept listening to him, and what he was saying made sense. I actually remember telling my dad that I'd found this guy named Rush Limbaugh on the radio, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to listen to him when I was driving back and forth to work," and never dreamed that I'd be as far into politics as I am today. But hey, things happen. Now, like I said, I'm the chairman for the Lawrence County Republican Party. I help candidates every year or every political season try to get elected. And so, Russ, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Russ Sanders. Like Daniel said, I live about a mile down the road from him. As a matter of fact, that staircase right behind him, my dad fell with me when I was a small child down that spiral staircase there over Daniel's right shoulder, top left of your screen there. A little bit about me. Just a young man here, born and raised in Lawrence County. Went to UNA, graduated from UNA, was in the Army active duty for a while. Now I'm in the National Guard as an officer. Also been involved in law enforcement for about 10 years, a good mixture of patrol, narcotics and investigations all across North Alabama here. Now I'm back here working locally here in our community. As Daniel said, I'm a treasurer in the Republican Party. Why I got in politics, like Daniel said, he was talking about 9/11. He was at work. He's a great deal older than I am, but I was in the 9th grade sitting in there at Lawrence County High School when we got the news. But joined the Army, as soon as I could, as soon as I was able to. And, I found out that, it's not regular people that make decisions. It's policies that politicians come up with, and people are that are in power, and that stuff matters, and the decisions they make matter. So I got to being a little bit interested, in presidential politics and who's going to get elected president. And then I actually realized that local politics mattered more. Who was getting elected locally, who was serving on our county commissions, who was serving as our sheriffs, who was serving as our state legislatures. And I realized that those people affect us a tremendous amount more than our national or even some of our state people. So I got really interested. Daniel and Prauncey invited me to come to the local meetings, and I started coming to those, and it just went up or downhill, however you want to call it, from there.
And you didn't know what you was getting into, did you?
I didn't.
Yeah, sometimes I still think I'm not fully sure what I've gotten myself into. So, one question you might be asking is, okay, so why are you doing this podcast? Well, one thing that we're trying to do that I've noticed as chairman, and actually kind of goes back to my story of how I got involved with local politics, is I didn't even know that there was a Republican Party that met on a regular basis in Lawrence County. I mean, were you, Russ?
I wasn't, not till you called me.
I had a friend of mine that invited me to come to a meeting just out of the blue. He actually works for Mo Brooks now, Johnny Turner. He said, hey, me and I started going, I went to that first meeting, and I really didn't know what I was getting into at that point, because they voted me on the executive committee right then and there. So, it really has been a lot of whirlwind as far as our local party. I mean, I listened to some of our older people that are in our party, and they say, well, I remember when you could actually meet in a phone booth in Lawrence County. Well, we're a little bit bigger than that. In case you don't know, our Republican Party meets every second Thursday of the month, usually at Mel's Steakhouse. Usually December we take off and have a little bit of a Christmas party, but we usually meet the second Thursday of each month. And Democrat Party, I'm sure they have their regular meetings as well. I just don't know when they are. I've tried to look on their Facebook page, but I can't seem to find it anymore. But if they want to reach out and let us know, we'll gladly plug those too for them, because we don't want to exclude anybody. We want to be inclusive, but we mostly want to be educational. Like I said, I had no clue what the local Republican Party actually did or meant for us. And like I said, that first meeting, I got stuck on the executive committee, and I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to be doing. That being said, we're here to try to educate people, because the Republican Party in Lawrence County, and your other counties as well, is involved in finding the candidates, getting them elected, holding their feet to the fire. I know Russ has got a personal connection to a certain candidate, but I get to hold your dad's feet to the fire a little bit, because we're neighbors. But
I'll probably hold his feet to the fire more than most, because I aggravate him about it over the dinner table sometimes.
That's right. And that's the whole thing too, is, most people in our area are, how many times have you ever heard of the kitchen table politics? Well, that's what local politics really are. It's sitting down and being able to talk with somebody. And I invite you to come to our local GOP meetings, because right now we have the majority of the offices in the county. And every week or every month, your local politicians are at those meetings. Gives you a great time to sit down and talk to them and listen to what they have to say, listen to what's going on in the county, and get heard. So
I think, Daniel, a lot of people don't understand what GOP stands for. When we're talking about the Republican Party and we say GOP, they tend to be interchangeable. It stands for Grand Old Party. I remember I had to ask that after our first couple of meetings. I didn't even know what it stood for.
See, I mean, it like I said, what we both kind of got pulled into it and didn't know what we were doing, right? um, so why should we get involved in politics, Russ?
It matters. I mean, we sit here and complain about stuff all day long. And really, till you get into it and get involved with the people that are actually making decisions on things, you really can't affect much. I mean, you can sit around and complain, make some crazy posts on Facebook, talk about, well, they ain't doing nothing, or they're doing this. And most 75 to 90% of the stuff I see out there is false. They're complaining about the wrong people doing this or that. And really, it's not even their responsibility. It's another elected person's responsibility. And people are just not really, I think it's important to educate yourself. And I think sometimes we fall short on that as individuals. We don't try to educate ourselves to figure out what stems from a problem, what causes a problem. And I think if we get involved, we can get educated on all these things. I'm not saying be a political junkie and watch listen to talk radio all day and watch the news all day, but you could pay attention, have a basic understanding of what offices are responsible for what, and what their values are, and what each party stands for, and which one aligns with your own personal beliefs, and make a decision based off that. I just think it's really important to do that instead of just throwing a bunch of stuff out there on social media, not knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that want to sit around the local watering holes and they want to discuss all of this stuff. But when's the last time you actually saw them at, a county commission meeting or one of the party meetings, actually sitting down and talking with their commissioner or their school board member or Board of Education, superintendent, when's the last time you actually saw them sitting down talking with those people? That's what we're trying to do, is to get that word out that you can come to these meetings. They are open, and we want you to sit down. We want you to discuss this stuff. Not just read what's on a Facebook post, but actually be out there and get to know that commissioner one-on-one and hear it firsthand. So one thing though that I want to make sure that we stress is that we are not always going to agree with each other, and we're not going to agree with who the guests that we might have on. I've already talked to several people that's willing to come on with us. Right now, this was supposed to be me, you, and our representative, Proncy Robertson. Proncy is like trying to nail Jello to a wall, trying to get him to sit down to do this. So nothing against him, but he's just got a busy schedule. So we're going to try to include him as much as possible. And we're going to get a lot of info, maybe even a lot of inside info about what's going on in Montgomery, especially when we get to the local or the legislative session. And hopefully we'll get some inside looks there and of what's going on. But one thing I want us to keep in the back of our mind always is we're not going to always agree, and let's not get mad at each other. We're going to always be civil. Even if we have some of our Democrat brothers and sisters on, we're still going to be civil. We're going to be nice to one another. Everybody has their own opinion. Doesn't mean that we have to be mad at each other about it. So, Russ, anything else you want to add?
Courtesy. Let's be courteous to one another, even if we disagree. I've got some extended family that they couldn't be as far away on the political spectrum, or I even consider rational thinking sometimes. And I get I catch myself getting flustered, but at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all have our own opinions, and it's important that we be courteous with one another, and courteous with guests, courteous with comments. If you have any comments on any of this, just be courteous with that and stuff like that. Just have a productive and constructive conversation. That's my main thing.
Yeah, I've seen you get a little red faced on some of those conversations with your kinfolk. So,
Yeah.
but we're going to have a little bit of fun as well. But, like I said, we're mainly trying to get the word out and just be educational for the most part. So, Russ, if you don't have anything else, we'll walk this thing out, and we'll start working on our next podcast when we're going to talk about what the parties mean, what their history is, and why is it that we have just a two-party system? So, thanks for sitting through our little test session here and letting us introduce ourselves to you. Make sure that you come back. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening to us on one of the podcast sites, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. And the biggest thing that we ask is that you share and you come back next time. I promise it's going to get way more interesting than just Russ and I sitting here talking about ourselves. So, but we're going to share a little bit of history over the next couple of podcasts and just try to educate people about what parties mean, why they matter, that kind of thing. So, Russ, till next time, we'll see.
Y'all be careful.
Y'all be good.